going to get started in a minute here. A couple people still just shuffling in. All right, cool. Thanks for coming to choose going up the stairs and getting up here for my session. I know probably easier to just stay down there and hear Colleen talk about recruiting, so I appreciate that. My name's Alan, and I'm a product consultant out of the New York City office at LinkedIn. Thanks. So today we're going to talk a little bit about business development, which is a little bit different of a session than we usually run. Usually it's pretty heavy on the recruitment side. And I think at a lot of these events, we tend to talk very high level, very conceptually about why it's important to do certain things and kind of why it's sexy. I want to get away from that today, and I just want to have a very hands-on working session so you have something tangible to take back and put in practice tomorrow. So that's what we're going to do today. And with that said, we only have this one slide with my face on it. So we're going to get out of here, and we're actually going to jump into right into LinkedIn. So. When you talk about LinkedIn and you're looking at it from a biz dev and a sales perspective, your brand is extremely important. So that's kind of where we're going to start, and then we'll move into some of the methodologies that you can employ on LinkedIn Recruiter as well. But we'll go through a little bit of a workflow today. So if we jump into my profile, I'm not going to dig too deep into this. Just do a Google search on branding yourself on LinkedIn, and there's going to be a billion articles that you can follow. So I don't want to bore you with that too much, but important to have a solid picture. I think I'm wearing the same exact outfit. It's kind of embarrassing. I can do that cheesy smile for you guys. So, but yeah, it's important to have a branded picture and then an intelligent headline as well, something that's interesting. A lot of people just put their titles up here. So you want to think of something that's a little bit creative, that's going to draw somebody in and want to click on your profile and actually read further, right? So we tend to get a little cute at LinkedIn sometimes. Purveyor of LinkedIn knowledge kind of sounds a little pretentious, but I'm leaving it for now. And then if you scroll down, the next important piece that I would note that you're probably not going to find on a lot of your Google searches is your URL right here that you can customize. So how many people in the room have customized their URLs? Nice. You guys are ahead of the game. For those of you that haven't, when you click into that, it's going to take you to this new page, and you just click right here on Customize Your Public Profile URL, and then you can type your first name, last name. If you have a more common name, you can think of something kind of creative to put there. But then this allows you to put this on your business card, in the signature of your email, and it doesn't look wonky, right? Because when you first create your LinkedIn profile, it's going to just assign you a random URL. So something that's pretty important to do if you haven't done that yet. So let's pop back to my profile. From here, contact information is going to be really important. So this is a no-brainer. The one thing that I would say, though, is you're typically going to have your email address, your phone number, but there's a lot of different instant message options that you can add right now. And I know a ton of people that in the workspace, they're using GChat all day. That's what they have pulled up on their desktop or their laptop. So I would definitely suggest to create a GChat handle and add that to your profile. It's just a lot easier of a way to get in touch with leads, right? So you're not constantly calling them, you're not constantly sending out in-mails. If you notice that they've accepted you on GChat, just a really easy way to pop them over a quick note. It's non-invasive, and you guys know when your inbox just piles up and piles up, it's a lot easier to ignore like a sales rep that wants to talk to you or somebody that's trying to sell you something. GChat, just super easy, pops up right in their face, and you can get that message across pretty quickly. So I'd suggest adding that as well. And then also your Twitter handle is really important from a branding perspective as well. So how many people tweet in the room? All right, awesome. And on LinkedIn, you can do that automatically as well. So if you add your Twitter handle, any update that you make to LinkedIn, you can choose to share that with Twitter as well. So it makes it really easy to do that. One of the other tricks that I wanted to show you in the profile, this is kind of grazed over a lot, we can click into websites. And you can actually customize your website URL as well. So intuitively, if you just say like company website for LinkedIn, and then we go to save, it's just going to say company website. And people are going to be a lot more hesitant to click into something where they don't know where they're going, especially like on their work computer. So you can go ahead and click on that edit and go to other, and then just go ahead and customize that website title as well. So it's little things like this, little tweaks that make a really big difference in terms of how people consume your content is really what I'm trying to get at here. So we'll just rename this LinkedIn.com. And then you've got that customized on there. So from here, there's only a couple more branding pieces that I want to talk about, and then we'll get into the true meat of the presentation today. But if we scroll down, you're going to notice a lot of rich content on my profile. So pictures, videos, tangible items that people can click into. This is really important. So how many people have added rich media to your profile so far? Okay, a little bit less. This is definitely something that I would get on as soon as possible. This is from the last event that I spoke at, which was in Atlanta. So it's just nice to add it and have, again, a tangible piece of media that people can look at. And this can be anything from an event that you spoke at, like mine, or maybe it's a portfolio that you have online that you'd like to house on your profile, whatever it may be. So with that said, I do want to get a picture of you guys as well. And we have, if you don't mind, and we have 300 million members on LinkedIn right now. So if you could just hold up the 3 for me, and then I'm going to add you to my profile as well. So if you guys don't mind terribly, it'd be awesome. All right, perfect. And then my Twitter handle is just Alan Beers. So go ahead and add me on Twitter, and then I'll link this to you guys too if you want it. So awesome, thank you. So let's go back. And really just the last piece that I wanted to talk about is when you're talking to the recruiting side on your profile, we often talk about getting recommendations from people that you've placed. If you're looking at this from a lead generation and a sales perspective, we should be getting recommendations from people that we've done business with in the past, right? It's important to have those internal recommendations speaking to the quality of your work, but also people that you've done great deals with, right? So if you scroll down, you're going to add those recommendations to your profile as well, and this is really important. And the reason for this is, if you've got a really great recommendation from a VP, at an end client that you did business with, as you're reaching out to other people in the same space, in the same industry, at the same level, they're going to look at that and see that their peers have endorsed you for those pieces that you've worked on together. And it's going to be a lot easier for them to respond to you. They're going to feel a lot more comfortable doing that. So very important as well. So any questions on branding? I wanted to graze over that quickly and then kind of get into the meat. So any questions on branding at all, profile, anything like that? Perfect. All right, so staying on LinkedIn.com, the first area that you can really sort of leverage commonalities between you and your leads is in the alumni section. So you can jump into alumni, and it's always going to bring up your school first that you have on your profile. So you can go right up here to change school, and you can browse. So we'll just type in like Chicago. Has anybody been using this functionality at all to get some leads? One person, awesome. So you can jump into like, let's say University of Chicago, for example. And from here, we can really build this out a little bit more deeply. So we can actually search in this, and this is Boolean searchable as well. So we could say VP or maybe vice president. And it's going to automatically change the results. And then maybe we're just looking to generate some leads in the Chicago area. So we can break it down by that as well. And what that does is now we've narrowed it down to about 2,000 results. If you flip over, you can actually change it to just your second degree connections. And we'll talk about why that's important in a moment. But I want to just break this down by second degree. So now we're down to 205 results, getting pretty targeted and pretty quickly as well. And if there are certain companies that you want to dig into, like let's say maybe Northern Trust, we can click into Northern Trust and see that 5 people that theoretically I may have gone to school with, or at least share my alma mater, work at a company that I'm now trying to find leads at, and also they're at a experience level that I'm targeting as well, so they're at the VP level. So now we can jump into Andrew here, take a look at his profile and see if that's somebody that we might want to target as a lead, and if it is, you've got your second degree connection right here. So Doug Handslip is somebody that I actually used to work with, and he knows Andrew and I don't. So my move right now would be to go to Doug and just shoot him a quick note and say, hey, hey Doug, I'm trying to get in touch with Andrew Curtis. What's the relationship there? Do you mind if I drop your name? And then you have a lot of different ways to pivot here. So if you send them a connection request, if we jump over to LinkedIn Recruiter and we send them an in-mail, regardless of how you get in touch with them, now the conversation becomes, hi Andrew, I bumped into Doug Handslip the other day. He had nothing but great things to say about you. I'd love to have a networking call. Right? And you didn't talk about anything that comes across as salesy. You didn't talk about anything that comes across recruiter-driven. Literally, you're just talking about the connection that you have. So it's ways like this that we can build those commonalities into your everyday outreach strategy that makes it a lot more prevalent for these people to get back to you. Any questions on Alumni? And there's also a way that you can leverage this in the recruiter tool that I can show you then if you're interested as well. So in that same vein, we can go over to interests and we can pop into groups. And I tend to join groups kind of from a lead generation perspective, not just company groups or items that may seem obvious, but maybe just like an area startups group. It's very vague, it's very generic, and there's a couple of different ways that we can pivot once we dive into there. So for example, you can go up to the top search bar and you can go to groups, and we could type in Chicago area startups. And we could click into that and join that group. And once you're a part of that group, you just click into it. And then from here, the first item that I would look at is jobs. So what kinds of jobs and what companies are posting jobs in these groups? That means that they're probably pretty active on LinkedIn if they're taking the time to inject these jobs into those groups, and they're probably willing to have more conversations. So when we jump into jobs, if you scroll down, you can look on the left here, and you can see all the companies that have posted jobs into this group. So let's take Amazon here, for example. We can see all the different jobs that Amazon has posted and tied to this specific area startups group. And then what we can also do is actually jump into that job. And more times than not, because it actually auto-generates the person's profile onto this job post, you can see who the person is that posted the job. So whether that's the recruiter, whether it's the end manager, and then we can actually jump in and see if we're at all connected to Michael, which we are, second-degree connection here. So what I would do is, how many people in the room have LinkedIn Recruiter access right now? Like everybody, awesome. And is everybody running, by the way, I forgot to ask in the beginning, is everybody running a full desk doing recruiting and sales? Or are there any people in the room that are just doing sales strictly? Okay, so mostly recruiting and sales, which this is perfect. So Michael Aliyah here, for example, we can flip over to LinkedIn Recruiter. Now we're in Recruiter. We can go up to Advanced. We can type in his name. And he's working at Amazon right now. And then search. And now we've pulled Michael up in Recruiter. And what we can do is send Michael a one-to-one targeted message. And when you do that, because he's a second-degree connection, it's going to show you some pop-up analytics that are related to that person. So Bianca Fishley is somebody that I work with right now. Apurva Doshi is actually he's a developer that I've placed in the past when I was a recruiter. So I'd have no problem reaching out to any of these two people and employing that same methodology that we talked about when we were digging through the alumni section as well. So again, the conversation no longer becomes about the sell or the recruit. It just becomes about the relationship and how you might be able to help each other. So it's all about facilitating and generating those commonalities automatically using the technology that you already have at your disposal. Any questions on that piece?
Could you refer me to that Michael guy, because I might have a candidate for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to do that.
I don't know if anybody minds.
I'd be happy to do that. Awesome. Nice. Always working. Any other questions? Yep, go ahead.
Do you have any statistics as to the response rate of people who get contacted this way? Because I know your in-mail response rate is somewhat low.
Yeah, so I think in-mail response rate depends on a lot of different factors. So for example, it's going to be your company brand. It's going to be the recruiter or the salesperson's internal brand, right? Their personal brand, who's sending out that message as well that's going to come into play. But then it's also the way in which you're generating that message. And I can tell you there's not a lot of people on the network that are taking advantage of these commonalities that are readily out there. So usually the message is very formulaic, and it can come across spammy. Also because you can pull 10, 20 people into a clipboard and send the same message out to 20 people at a time. But unfortunately on our network, that just doesn't work as well. Right? So as far as average in-mail response rate goes, you're gonna see anywhere between 18 to 22%, depending on the month, if it's a holiday month, whatever's going on. But if you can get to that about 18% response rate, you're right in the average or above average, depending on the month. Yeah, question in the back.
In the recruiter tool, you found this guy, you looked at their stuff, and you see
Okay.
Some people still use them.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yep.
How do you get the rest of the bells and whistles if you're not connected to it?
So like their phone number, perhaps?
Yeah, that'd be a good
If you're a first degree connection with someone, like so say Michael here, for example, you can send Michael a connection request, and if he accepts that connection request and he has his contact information listed on the profile, you're going to be able to utilize that right away. So you'll be able to see their email address, their phone number, anything they've listed that I showed you in my contact section there as well.
But in Recruiter,
Yeah.
you have access to all of that stuff, whether you're connected or not.
You don't have access to the contact information. You don't have access to contact information.
Did you have it at one time?
No, unfortunately. So if you popped into anybody's profile in Recruiter and you saw contact information, which does happen, it's because you were a first degree connection with them.
Got it.
Yep.
And this anonymous thing, I think I'm being stalked by lots of people because I get all these anonymouses in my.
Hopefully a pretty girl.
My wife would prefer not, but my point being, what's that all about? That's a great question.
Oh, so within your LinkedIn.com profile, you have the capability of remaining anonymous on the site. So if somebody takes a look at your profile and they have their security settings anonymous, then you can't see that they.
It's not a separate profile made anonymous. It's that you can flip.
Correct. Yeah, that's a real person that's taking a look at your profile. It's not just a randomly generated profile or anything, but yeah, that's because they've set their security settings that way. Yeah, good questions, for sure. One other thing that I would say is just from an old school sales and recruiting perspective is call into the company. You have the person's name and their title, do a little extension hopping, and get them on the phone that way as well. So we sent the message out to Michael. We know that Michael has a job posted right now at a targeted company that we want to dig into, which was Amazon. And we know that we're connected to this person in certain ways, which is through Bianca, through Apurva. So really easy ways that we can just dive in and sort of get around the straight up hard sales conversation right on the first in-mail. And just a really, really easy way to create that commonality. So let's kind of move along. Let's jump back into LinkedIn.com. So what we can also do from here is if we jump into interests, we can go up to companies. And this is really where it starts to get interesting. So I'm assuming that most of you break your lead list down by the company that you're trying to dig into. And there's a couple of different ways that you can leverage that on the site. So you can go up to the company search section and type in whatever company that you want, pull it up, and then follow that company. And then you've got access to all that data. So let's jump into some that I've already been following. And let's just keep using Amazon as an example. So I can dig into Amazon right now. And there's a couple of different routes that I can go. One is if they have a career page, which most of these larger companies do, you're going to be able to jump in and see whatever jobs they have posted on LinkedIn. So you can scroll down. On the right side here, you can see all the jobs they have posted. You can even click into this and then see every single job. So again, another easy way to figure out what they're hiring for and be able to take that ammunition to your sales call. The other area that I really like to leverage, if we go back home, you can pull up all of your first degree connections and see how you're connected to people at Amazon. And some of those first degree connections might surprise you. You know, people that have moved there that you haven't talked to in a while, whatever it may be, dive in and see who's working there. But then also, I think what's even more important are the second degree connections. So you can see that out of 6 people, I've got 3,318 second degree connections. I'm only 1 degree of separation away from knowing this person. So we can jump in to all those second degree connections. And admittedly, on free LinkedIn, this is about as far as it goes unless you've got a premium account, right? Because you're not going to be able to break it down by title, anything like that. So what you can do is you can kind of scroll through and try to get lucky, or better than that, go up to the top and pull these results into Recruiter, since most of you have Recruiter access. And we can see the 2,000, almost 3,000 people that work at Amazon. And then what we can do is go ahead and go to advanced keyword. And remember, these people are our second degree connections still, as we pull them up in Recruiter. So now we can go up to job title and start to do a more concrete search. So again, we can say VP or vice president. Let's keep using that today as the example. And we want to say current only. We're only interested in people that have this title there right now. And we can click search. And we get 39 results. They're still our second degree connections, so we're going to have some things in common. And we can scroll down, and there's a couple of different routes that we can go. One important thing to note is, since we did this search in LinkedIn through the company section, it's also going to pull up all of their subsidiaries as well. So you'll notice it's bringing up like Kiva, A9, Audible, which are all Amazon subsidiary companies. So now we're at our 39 results. And if we scroll down, we can break it down by location if we need to. Maybe we're only looking for people in the New York City area. We can go even further from that, and we can see what groups that we share with these people. So a lot of different ways that you can pivot. But if we go back to the top, we can just look at Tom right here, Vice President for Amazon Fresh, which is a fairly new service, and they're probably looking for good people, right? So what we can do is send a direct message to Tom. And again, we got right back to that space where we have with all these other mediums, where we know what groups we share with these individuals, we know the people that we have common connections with, and we can leverage that into our outreach strategy. So a bunch of different routes that I just showed you that all really get you to the same place conceptually with these leads. What we can also do is leveraging the technology. You've got search alerts that you can harness as well. So if we go up to the top, and we click on Save Search. What this is going to do is it's going to make you name this search. So we can just call this VP Amazon, perhaps. And what it's going to make you do is tie it to a project folder. And the way I want you to look at a project folder in Recruiter is it's kind of like a mini database for you. It's housing all of your leads in there. So you can really create your naming convention any way that you like. I think there's really two intelligent ways to do it, though. It's just by company and title. So we could call this Amazon VP, or we can regionalize it. Like maybe we just did a search for technology companies in Chicago, and we had the VP level, right? So we can say all of our VP level leads in Chicago, right? So not breaking it down by company. From here, it asks you if you want to receive alerts about new leads, and it checks yes for you. So you can go ahead and click Save. And now what we just did are two pretty interesting things. Anybody completely new that joins LinkedIn that fits our criteria, we're going to know about. So let's say that somebody else at the VP level at Amazon was not on LinkedIn yesterday and they joined today. We're going to know about them immediately. And that's going to be an automatic lead generation mechanism for you, right? So every time you see those alerts come through, you know automatically there's a new lead at Amazon that you can dig into that's at the VP level. Super easy. So you literally never have to do this search again after you save it. What this also does is anybody that's already existing on LinkedIn, but they change something on their profile that fits your search criteria. So case in point, either title or company, right? So maybe they were working at Apple. Now they've moved over to Amazon. As soon as they update their profile, you're going to know about that. Or maybe they were in like a sub-VP position, and now they've moved up into that level. They've just updated their profile. You're going to know about that as well. And the way in which you can get these leads, it's a couple of different ways. One is since we tied this back to the project, we can jump into our Amazon VP project. We can go into our search. And here's our search right now. And you'll notice it says check for new results. If you let this stew for a couple of weeks, this will say 2 or 4 or 10, depending on how many populate into there, and you can click into it and just see those new results. So fantastic. Another way that you can do this is if you jump into your overall searches. At the top, you're going to notice it's going to ask you if you want to send these alerts in email. So you just check on that box, and you can get these leads on a daily basis as well. So a couple of different ways that you can get this, and this is just going to keep funneling into your email over and over again. Anytime somebody new joins Amazon at that level, you'll know about it right away. Right? And again, that allows you to preload a little bit of ammunition for your outreach strategy, whether you're calling them, whether you're sending out an in-mail. It can be congratulatory at that point in time. I work with a lot of people at Amazon. We've been doing business together for a long time. I see that you just joined the company. Welcome. I'd love to be a contact for you. I'd hope to have a networking conversation soon. So much more light, it's airy, you're not going after them with the hard sell right off the bat. Any questions on search alerts? Yeah? No, but one way that you can do that, I'm glad that you brought that up. Let's say that we are still targeting the VP level at Amazon. So Tom Wieland here, for example. What we can do is actually jump over to this feature which is called Update Me. And when you click Update Me, what this does is any changes that Tom makes to his profile, you're going to know about immediately. So whether that's if he adds a skill set, if he goes into a different role, or if he leaves the company, it's going to automatically alert you that something's going on with Tom's profile, and then you can view that. So you can go up to the notification center, so it's this little flag on the top of the profile. And that's going to show you any of these new updates that are occurring. Or actually, when you first log in the morning, if you jump back to your recruiter homepage, it's going to be right in this updates section right here as well. So then you know, and I like where your head's at with this. You know, if Tom leaves, obviously there's an open slot, and if you've got a hot candidate that you can maybe migrate right into that position, you can go ahead and do that. And reach out to your other contacts at that company and skill market. So, and that's another point to kind of bring up is every methodology that I've showed you today so far allows you to be proactive versus reactive. I mean, you can take all of these different connections that you have, and you can proactively skill market candidates that you have on the back end. So if you're running a full desk, you should already have your database of candidates that you know are going to look good for Amazon. Or if you're only doing the sales role like some of you are, this gives you a really great opportunity to partner with the recruiters that you're mapped to and see what their candidate pool looks like and then start to proactively help them submit. Any other questions while we have a pause there? Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
It's time consuming.
Yeah.
So, do you have organizations, sales organizations that are taking the heavy lifting, the admin front end of this process and putting it on resources that can kind of impersonate you through a design process so that you can save the time?
It's kind of like automating the process. So there.
Still human people behind it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of interesting products that we have that are on the sales side that we can talk about offline. Yeah, because it's a deeper conversation than the 15 minutes that we have left. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys about that stuff afterwards if you want to come in and grab me. So.
Alan, are you going to make this presentation available on SlideShare afterwards?
Yeah, I think we're filming it right now, so that'll be available through our resources then as well. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions before we move on? Yeah.
Have you found any difference on your profile if we put the word confidential somewhere? Have you had any feedback if I put on my thing all conversations confidential or not? Have you had anybody talk about that? Is it good, bad?
You know, I haven't seen any analytics around that. It might just be the fact that, especially with LinkedIn and Facebook and all the social media that's out there right now, I think that people kind of understand that their information's out there, whether they like it or not, and that might not be the answer that everybody wants to hear in the room. But I don't know if that would help you from a strategy perspective to have that on there. Because again, if they don't know you and you're going into this situation cold anyway, how are they trusting that just because you wrote on your profile that it's going to be confidential, that you're going to keep it that way, right? Anything else? There's one more kind of tip and trick that I wanted to show you. So leveraging those search alerts like we just were, what we can do is jump back into Recruiter here. And let's go back home. And this is a really great way to get some market intelligence. So we can go into the advanced search section. And I would urge you, just play around with some of the filters and some of the different functionality. Literally, my colleagues and I, we sit around sometimes and just try to figure out new ways to harness this. And one of my colleagues, Aaron, actually just figured this out the other day. So we were sitting and having a conversation about, how can we find hiring data a lot more readily, just right from the recruiter tool? One of the ways that we can, we can do this is we can scroll down and we can go to more. And we can say we want to see all the individuals that have been at their current company less than 1 year. Right? And then we can scroll down and we can see what level of company we want. So maybe we want like SMB, getting maybe on the enterprise side, so 51 to 200 size company. And then we can scroll down and just do a search. So we're starting off very broad with this. From here, we want to be a little bit more targeted because we got 654,000 results. But what we can do is we can scroll down, and we can say we only want to see people in Chicago. So that brought us down to 14,000. And now maybe I only want to see individuals that are in the tech space. So I'm going to choose information technology as the industry. So use these filters to break it down further to a more tangible number. So now that we have about 1,200 individuals that are in Chicago in the tech space that have only been in their role sub 1 year. And what we just did is we're not looking for candidates or leads here. What we're trying to figure out is who are these companies that are hiring, right? So in the last 6 months, all of these companies have hired these individuals for one. And the cool part is, if we scroll up to the top and we leverage that save search alert that I showed you in the last example, now you're going to know over time, like maybe you track this over 6 months, you can see how many new leads have come in at that company or how many people they've hired in that space in your local area in a very specific industry. So what we can do is, once we go in and we check our search alerts, we can say, oh wow, okay, jump back into the search. Okay, Ahead just hired 14 more people this month. I should probably get in there and try to find some leads, okay, because there's people that we're going to be able to help them out with. So really easy way to just automatically build market intelligence data for yourself, and it's a pretty simplistic process.
So everything you're showing here is LinkedIn Recruiter, but you can still do a lot of these same things in regular LinkedIn or premium membership.
Yeah, so I mean, what I just showed you there is going to be more of a recruiter piece. But yeah, a lot of what I showed you today, jumping into, sorry, let me get back into regular LinkedIn.
I understand you're trying to sell it, so it's good.
So that's the cool thing about not being quoted, right, is I'm a product consultant, so I can come up here and kind of say what I want, which is nice. Don't tell any of my managers back there that. But in any case, if we go back up to interest, again, ways that you can dig through those companies, and really the whole session today is about leveraging those second degree and first degree connections that you had. And that's the key, is everything on our site is built around commonalities, and you can game the system. You can find groups that people are in and join that same group, and then say, oh, hey, we belong to a lot of the same groups. How about that? Let's have a conversation. So you can really kind of game the system and set that up easily. Any other question? 5? Yeah, I think Grace wanted me to wrap actually at 2:50 since we're over time anyway. But any other questions before we wrap? Yeah, right here.
When you're searching, so let's say you have a group of companies that's in financial services, but you're not using the actual industry. Is there a way to save that grouping of companies? So in 3 weeks you want to search again?
It's a fantastic question. So let's say that we wanted to save these grouping of companies. We could go up here to custom filters. And we can scroll to the bottom and say Save Custom Filter. And we can name it. So maybe this is our Chicago companies custom filter, and we click Save. And now anytime you do a search, regardless of what it's for, you can jump in to the custom filter list, and we can click on Chicago companies, and it's going to bring up that very specific list for you. So regardless of any other of the modifiers that you've added, that's going to remain the same and be frozen there.
Thank you.
Great question. Anything else? We probably have time for like one more. Yeah.
Is there anywhere on here where you have, I would love to have a notes section.
Yeah, there is.
I wanted to remember, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got that on both LinkedIn.com and in the recruiter tool. So if you jump into somebody's profile, let's say Lauren here, we can actually.
I mean more like a sticky note.
Oh, a sticky note.
I wanted to remember to do 3 things when I come in.
Like a task?
It's like a task.
Yeah. So when you're on Lauren's profile on LinkedIn, you're going to notice there's a reminder section here. And we can say, call Lauren, and then whatever the date is that you want that to occur. And we can click Save, and it's going to pop up. Or also, if you're on Recruiter, let's go into like Alan here, for example. We can do the exact same thing. And you can set an actually very specific reminder on LinkedIn Recruiter. So call Alan, remind me on whatever date and the very specific time that you would want to do that. And that's going to pop up in your notification section every single time you have that set.
So it doesn't sound like, I don't know if I'm explaining it right. I want a Post-it note to pop up that says, Russ, do this, call Alan, call whatever.
Yeah, you'll get a pop-up notification automatically. Yep.
Alan, I think he means the top right. There's a task list next to the.
Oh, okay, right on. The smart task list?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I want a yellow Post-it on my LinkedIn profile. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Can somebody create that?
I'm going to get right on that. When I get back to New York, that's going to be my first order of business.
Stick it on my laptop.
Yeah, so you've kind of got that with this. So this smart to-do list, you can add it, and it's going to pop up right in your notification section. So all you really have to do is remember to check this section. And you're going to be able to see all that, and you will get a notification as well. So you'll get those two pieces. And also, what I wanted to add is anytime you add a note to someone's profile, that note instantly becomes searchable when you go to the advanced section. So we can say, in notes, I want it to be X, and you write in whatever that note was that you recalled, and you can pull that person's profile up automatically. So 3 different ways that you can set those up. It's not yellow. It's not a Post-it, but it's still pretty cool.
Can you make it sticky?
I could try. I think that's going to wrap it up. We're going to be hanging out for the rest of the day, though. So if you had any other questions that we didn't have time for, come up and see me, and we can hang around. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right.